Coxter Groups, Lectures 13, Parabolic subgroups. So let W, S be a Coxeter system, and let J be any subset of S. Definition: the subgroup W sub J of W generated by J is called a parabolic subgroup. Remark: this means in particular that W has 2 to the power the cardinality of S, potentially different parabolic subgroups. Later on, we will prove that there are exactly 2 to the power the cardinality of S different parabolic subgroups. For example, consider the group S3, so the symmetric group on 3 elements, which is a Coxeter group with respect to S given by elementary transposition. So we have the elementary transposition S1, which swaps 1 and 2, and the elementary transposition S2, which swaps 2 and 3. So we have 2 elements in S, which means that we have 4 parabolic subgroups in S3. The parabolic subgroup which corresponds to the empty set, so the empty subset of S, this just contains the identity. The parabolic subgroup which corresponds to S1, to the singleton subset S1, contains the identity and this S1, and S1 squared is the identity. Similarly, the parabolic subgroup which corresponds to S2, it contains the identity and this S2. This is what S2 generates because it squares to the identity. And finally, if we take the whole of S, then the corresponding parabolic subgroup is the whole Coxeter group, in our case the whole S3. Here are some basic properties of parabolic subgroups. Proposition: we have that the group W sub J with respect to the set J is a Coxeter system. And so we can in particular consider the length function for this Coxeter system, which we denote by L sub J. The second part: if we have an element x in this parabolic subgroup Wj, then the length of x in W equals to the length of x in Wj, so with respect to the Coxeter system given by Wj, J. The third claim: the intersection of Wj and Wj prime equals to W with the index j intersection with j prime. The fourth claim: the subgroup generated by Wj and Wj prime is exactly W for j union with j prime. And finally, the promised claim: Wj is equal to Wj prime if and only if j is equal to j prime. So here is the proof. Let W be an element in our parabolic subgroup Wj, and let S1, S2, and so on Sk be an expression of W over J. So using the deletion property, we can make this expression reduced, and then it will be reduced both in W and in Wj, and it will be the same expression. And this proves claim B is that the lengths with respect to W and Wj are the same. But because we have B, it means that the exchange property holds in our parabolic subgroup by restricting the exchange property from the whole Coxeter group. But of course this implies A, because we know that the exchange property characterizes Coxeter groups, so we have already proved A and B. The claim D about the subgroup generated by 2 parabolic subgroups follows directly from the definitions, and the claim C about the intersection follows from the deletion property. And finally, the last claim that Wj is equal to Wj prime if and only if j is equal to j prime follows as soon as we observe that the deletion property implies that each element in J which doesn't belong to j prime cannot be an element in Wj prime. And so this completes the proof of our basic properties. Here are some remarks. Parabolic subgroups of W form a lattice that is isomorphic to the Boolean lattice of the set S. So it's a Boolean lattice 2 to the power S. this should be S. So the Boolean lattice of the set S, the set of all subsets of S. Also, the Coxeter diagram of Wj, J is obtained from the Coxeter diagram of Ws by deleting all vertices outside J and all edges that are incident to those vertices which we delete. If W sub j is finite, we denote the longest element in this Coxeter group by W0 upper j. In particular, if j is the empty set, then W0 upper the empty set is equal to the identity, because the corresponding parabolic subgroup is the identity subgroup. And if j is the whole of S, then the corresponding W0 upper S is just the usual W0, the longest element in W. Because if j is equal to S, then the corresponding parabolic subgroup is the whole of W. And of course, W0 upper j equals W0 upper j prime, if and only if j is equal to j prime. Now we have to discuss the notion of descent classes. So let I be a subset of J, which in turn is a subset of S. Definition. The right descent class D sub I upper J is defined as the set of all elements W in our Coxeter group, such that the right descent of W contains I and is contained in J. There are some special cases. If I is equal to j, then d sub I upper I is just denoted by d sub I. And the right descent class d sub empty set and then s minus j is usually denoted by w upper j. So w upper j is the set of all elements in W, such that W is bra smaller than ws for each element s in J. And the left descent classes d with I and j on the left, and d with sub I on the left, and d with upper j on the left, are defined similarly using the left descent sets. So in particular, d with upper j on the left is a set of all elements W in W, such that W is bra smaller than SW for any S in J. Here is an important proposition about these sets. Proposition: so let J be a subset of S and X an element in W. Then the following conditions are equivalent. The first condition, X belongs to W upper J. The second condition, no reduced expression of X ends with an element of J. And the last condition is that X is the unique element of minimal lengths in the coset X times W sub J. Proof. The fact that A implies B follows if we know that if some reduced expression of X ends with some element S in J, then S is by definition in the right descent set of X, and this contradicts the definition of W upper J. The fact that C implies A follows if we know that if we have S in J, and the length of XS is greater than the length of X, this means that S is not an element in the right descent set of X, and so X belongs to W upper J by definition. So we only need to prove that B implies C. So let Y be an element of minimal lengths in the coset X times W sub J. Then our Y belongs to W upper J by our previous step. Also, we have by definition that X is equal to Y times Z for some Z in WJ. But this means that a reduced expression of X can be obtained from a concatenation of a reduced expression of Y and the reduced expression of Z, and then we use the deletion property to make a reduced expression. But because we have condition B, no letter from Z is allowed in our outcome. We cannot end a reduced expression of X with an element in J. but this means that x must be equal to y, so we have to delete the whole reduced expression of z, but the length of x is at least the length of y, so the whole reduced expression for y should stay, which means that x is equal to y due to our assumption of the minimality of y. And this proves our implications that B implies C. Here are some Cox sequences. Corollary 1. Every element A in W can be uniquely written as a product x times y, where x is in W upper J and y is in W lower J. And this, of course, follows from the equivalence of conditions A and C in the previous proposition. Corollary 2. If we write an element A in W as a product of x, y, where x is in W upper J and y is in W lower J, then the length of A is equal to the length of x plus the length of y. Proof. So we start with our A and multiply it with simple reflections in J, reducing the lengths at each step. So we can do it step by step until we arrive in the situation where we cannot do it anymore. But then this means that we write A as x times y, where y is an element in W sub j, and x is an element such that no reduced expression of x ends with an element in j. But because of our equivalences in the proposition, this means that x belongs to W upper j. But because how we did this induction, the length of A decreased at each step by 1, so the length of A is equal to the length of x plus the length of y in the outcome. And now the claim follows because the writing of A is equal to x times y is unique by corollary 1. And because of this property, W upper j is quite often called the set of shortest right coset representatives. And of course, we similarly can say the same thing on the other side. So the proposition, if J is a subset of S and X is an element in W, then the following conditions are equivalent. X belongs to W upper J on the left. No reduced expression of X starts with an element of J. And X is the unique element of minimal lengths in the coset Wj times X. And as a corollary, every element A in W can be uniquely written in the form x times y, where x is in W sub j and y is in W upper j on the left. Moreover, we also have that the length of A is equal to the length of x plus the length of y. And because of this, W upper j is often called the set of shortest left coset representatives. So we have talked about the shortest coset representatives. We can also talk about longest coset representatives. So corollary, if W sub j is finite, then each coset x times Wj or Wj times x has a unique representative of maximal length, so the longest representative. And this follows from the above, since the longest element in W sub j is unique, as we know. And the set of the longest coset representatives in cosets of the form x times Wj is exactly the set D, sub j, and upper S. And similarly, the set of the longest coset representatives in cosets of the form Wj times x is exactly the set D, lower j, upper S on the left. And by the subword property, the restrictions of the Brugha order to W upper j and to D sub j upper S give rise to isomorphic posets. Here is an example. Consider our group S3, which is a Coxeter group with respect to the elementary transpositions. So we denote by S the transposition 1, 2, and by R the transposition 2, 3. Then the whole group S3 consists of the identity S, R, SR, RS, and the element W0, which has two reduced expressions, SRS and RSR. Let's take as J the set S. Then W sub J is equal to the identity comma S, and this is isomorphic to the symmetric group S2. So we have the W upper J, the set of the shortest coset representatives on the right, consists of the identity, the element R, and the element SR. And the set W upper J on the left consists of E, R, and RS. Now the longest representatives in the right cosets are S, RS, and W0, and on the other side we have S, SR, and W0. This should be D. And as for the Breuer order on the shortest and longest representatives, in this case we always have a chain. The identity is Breuer smaller than R, and R is Breuer smaller than SR. So due to the subword property. And similarly, S is Breuer smaller than RS, and RS is Breuer smaller than W0. So we see that the Breuer order on shortest representatives and on longest representatives, these two things are isomorphic as posets. Some additional problems and questions at the end. Problem question 1. Prove with all details that W sub 0 upper J is equal to W sub 0 upper J prime if and only if J is equal to J prime. Problem question 2. Prove with all details that the set of the longest representatives in cosets of the form X W sub J is exactly D sub J upper S. Problem question 3. Determine all parabolic subgroups in a Coxeter group of type B3. Problem question 4. Compute D sub I upper J for all possible I and J for the symmetric group S3. And problem question 5. For W being the symmetric group S4 and J being the subset S1, S3 of simple reflections, let A be the transposition 4, 1, 2, 3, given in one-line notation. Determine the element X in W upper J and the element Y in W lower J such that A is equal to X, Y. Thank you very much and see you next time.